Hi class, how you doing? Welcome to week 4. Okay, I want to do this. I'm posting this video and this announcement a little bit early because I want to break it down a little bit. All right, so basically, for those of you who have looked ahead, you found that the project is based in 4 phases. The first phase was that information and data gathering. Um, Remember all that data that we did regarding, geography and transportation infrastructure and um, uh, 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 climate and geographic location and all that stuff, all that research, that was phase 1, right? And we go to phase 2. And phase 2 was the concept design. That's begin. Okay, we started that in week 3. And we're going to continue that in week 4. But in week 4, we changed gears a little bit. And I'll get to that in 1 second. Week 3 was all your sketches. Week 4, you're going to boil that down to your final logos, both sketched versions and digital versions, and I'll go through that in a second. Okay, so then we get to concept design final. Then if you jump ahead to week 5, we have phase 3, design development, and I'm going to show you that in a second. And then we get to week design development continued. That's week 6, and week 7 is final presentation. Then week 8 is the actual final. So I want to just jump over here to week 7 final, phase 4 final presentation, and I want to show you guys kind of where we're at. Now, those of you who have already discovered this, great job, but I'm right here, week 7, project 4 final presentation began. Okay, and there's these 2 student examples right here. I'm just going to jump to Winter Olympics 2018 in Santiago, Chile, and it brings you to issue. And what we want to do from here is we're just going to start, okay, remember, this is a student project. All right, so remember those 4 phases I just mentioned, okay? Here's the table of contents. If we zoom into that table of contents a little bit, guess what? Here's our phases right here. We have historical, location, economy, general demographic, okay? And I'll get into that in a second, but that's the opening of the final presentation. Okay, now we have the first section of the final presentation. Does this look familiar? Historical summary, location, general demographics, economy. This is all that research we did for phase 1. Transportation infrastructure, existing venues. Yours would have remember that research on hotel rooms, climate, cultural highlights, art, and architecture. All that stuff we studied that's phase 1. That's that first part of the final presentation. That's where we're headed. Okay, and then this student actually went ahead and did some keywords. These keywords were based on the mission statement and rebirth, unity, and modernization. And what they did is they just selected images that represented those keywords, and then they pulled colors out of those, right out of those images. And just to sample with color, that's all, okay? Still phase 1. Okay, now phase 2. This is where we're at in week 3. We're moving to this stage. What this isn't showing is the first part of state of phase 2, concept design. That's the logo and the general look that you're going for, okay? So in week 3, we started with our sketches. In week 4, we're moving on, finalizing the sketches, and then giving our digital renditions. Okay, now listen, there's a real good chance that this is going to change a few times between now and the end of the course. Okay, so don't think that you're locking yourself into any final decisions. You're not. But at this point right here, let me show you where we're at. We are right over here in week 4, project 2. Concept final, that's what's coming up in week 4. And if we take a look at that, we see that we're going to take all those sketches from last week, and we're going to pick the final 3, the best 3 logo sketches from last week and associated pictograms. And we're going to develop those sketches into something final. And then we're going to develop the digital iteration of the logo and the pictograms. Okay, and that would be right here. This is where we're at. The only thing this isn't showing here is the sketches. So your presentation would show the sketches, your final sketch. Remember it said your final 3. This week we have solidified your visual interpretation down to a minimum of 3 options and develop your story. That's what this is. Here's the 3 options. This one has the star, and note the explanation up there, color, and then the digital versions. What's missing is the sketches, as I said, and then the second, excuse me, second symbol is the Andes. Now, remember, these are symbols. Now, this is a star. There's reasoning behind this. There's a reason behind this symbol. And the reason is defined right up here in the corner. So if you want to take a look at that, you can zoom in. And then we go to the next concept too, which is right here. Sorry, right here, you will have solidified down to your final 3 options. So this is 2. So now I want you to note something now. This is a symbol. It symbolizes the mountains, but there's also an S in there for Santiago. Okay, so those of you who I was saying, remember I was saying, okay, we have to communicate symbolically. We have to encode meaning into symbols like this. Okay, and instead of just drawing an image, a pictorial image of the Andes. Okay, makes sense, right? So that's the second. And then the third, this is the third. Again, this is based on a geoglyph. There's a reason behind this, and read it. It's the reason. Note the nice cool color palette indicating a winter event. Okay, and let me see. Then we move on. And then this is getting into what we're going to get into next week with phase 3, design development. Okay, so, and then finally, after that, you get into the 4th phase, which is the final presentation, all this stuff here. Okay, so again, note this, and then there's your conclusion with all your notes. So note this presentation follows the class verbatim. So that's because this is from a previous student. So feel free to jump ahead. There's another example too. That's Beirut Summer 2020. So take a look at that. Take a look at both of them, and that's kind of where we're headed. So for week 4. What you're going to do is of course we'll have our meetings during week 4, but what you're going to do here, project 2 final concept design final is you're going to move last week's sketches and that stuff that we talked about, that stuff that you presented. We're going to take those sketches and refine those into finalized sketches and then show the logo, the digital logo. And then let me jump over there so you can see your 3 options, and then you're going to give a written story for each one. The logo, that's the final digital logo. The refined sketches, that would be your sketches from last week that you have refined into what is going to turn into the final logo, and then your pictograms associated with that logo. Okay, so that is where we're at. And I think it's important to kind of see that and kind of end game there, because it's really important. I think a few students have been like, okay, but where is this all going? Now we know, all right? So now you know where you're at. You got a map of where you've been, where you're at, and where you're headed. So that should definitely help. All right, guys. Again, I wanted to post this early just so you guys can get on this, and we'll have our meetings this week, and we'll take it from there. All right? Thanks, everyone.